Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Well. A lot to catch up on in Flyers world. And Flyers Twitter, Flyers fans, Flyers, just the fan base in general. It's been so miserable and toxic over the last couple of months. I hate it. I hate it all. It is not a good time. And I try and separate myself as much as humanly possible because it is one of the worst experiences I've ever felt. And I normally do fall into a trap of saying that about the Sixers or the Eagles, just depending on what time of the year it is. But there's something about the orange and the black that just hits a certain point in the meter of disgracefulness that it's so hard for me to fathom thinking the way certain people do. But anyway, I digress. There's a lot that has went on so far with this organization buying out Oskar Lindblom, which was reported months ago was going to be the case. It still seems they're possibly trying to move on from JVR so they can free up more cap space. Why? Well, because Johnny Gaudreau is testing the open market, and it is being reported that there is a hefty contract offer that was on the table. 8 years, $10+ million per, but knowing his family situation, wants to be closer to home. His wife is currently pregnant as well, so to be closer to not only his family, but her family as well when entering a newborn into the world, it does make sense to be closer to those who are very close to you. So what does that mean? The New Jersey Devils is being speculated. The Philadelphia Flyers coming back home is being speculated. Early on, it was definitely like, hey, he went to Boston College, maybe Boston. No. In what universe? If you use the track record of the Boston Bruins and the way they spend their money, that ain't happening, okay? Look at their contracts and look at how much cash is being spent on their top-tier players. It doesn't happen. It was never going to happen at all. There was just some rumors on maybe they could make it work because of his Boston College ties, but it just absolutely wasn't going to happen at all. The question becomes, can Chuck Fletcher make this work? Now, I have to be honest, depending on the day, I feel differently. This has been a bumpy road for sure. The latest I heard, unfortunately for all you listeners out there, it was something negative, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen where Chuck can make this puppy work, which part of me thinks, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you are tied with some of these contracts and you make decisions in the past that leave you down this road. And then the other side of me goes, all right, you're aggressively retooling, right? You do what it takes. You know how hungry he is to play in this city. You know how badly he wants to play for his hometown. It's right there for you. Now, I'm not telling you it's the easiest thing in the world to find a team that would absolutely take JVR's money, and it might cost you a 2024 first-round pick. It might take you hey, we acquired something for Claude Giroux. Previous mistakes within this franchise sometimes definitely forces you to do something uncomfortable. You may have to, but you pay the price to acquire someone who can not only, and I know this isn't what fans want to hear, but not only put jerseys sales up and put people in the seats, but it can help your franchise turn around too. The narrative I can't stand, and quite frankly, I believe is 1,000% embarrassing, is I want nothing to do with him because the Flyers are too far away anyway. We're talking about a 7-year contract if they were to offer him the most amount of years they possibly can. 7 years. Do you know how long 7 years is? I saw Charlie O'Connor, who I respect, and I do believe he does a good job covering this team. He covers the squad for The Athletic, of course. But, I mean, he's talking about what does this mean for the short term if they could land. I mean, what are we talking about? It's a 7-year deal. Of course, if you want to talk about next year or the year after, that's fine. But signing Johnny Gaudreau isn't just about what it would be. What does it mean for for next year, as if the window closes and there's some window here for the next year or two, and that's the only thing that matters within a franchise-changing caliber guy. Now, is your argument he's not that? Because I would absolutely disagree with saying that he can't help turn this puppy around. These are the type of players. You say they're not close yet. You bring in this type of talent, it moves you closer into being where you want to be. This is what you need to acquire. You talk about getting good talent. This is what it does. And it's not going to be 8 years, obviously, and 10 plus million. I think he's probably going to take a pay cut from what was offered out in Calgary. So I'm fascinated to see what ends up happening. You know, there's rumors that Carolina is making some phone calls now. Is he going to the New York Islanders? That East Coast vibe, all these teams, you run through all of New York, all the way down Washington, D.C. What squad's going to get it done? Well, when you hear the news that he's testing the market, of course, everybody's eyebrows raise, and then the agent gets some phone calls, and other teams re-enter the chat, if you will. So it'll absolutely be fascinating. But from a Chuck Fletcher standpoint, I do have to agree with the you do everything to make this happen if you know he is so willing to be here, and he is, so figure it the hell out. What is an aggressive retool if this is where you're going to cut it short, right? You bring in a Tony DeAngelo. You sign him to a 2-year extension at $5 million per year. You bring in Ristolainen with the big trade last year. You sign him to the deal. You hire John Tortorella to help restructure this defensive zone so it's not as abysmal. So you bring in these key pieces and these core pieces in your eyes. Why would you stop short now? I don't understand hating it. It's crazy. The people that are so disgusted with this franchise don't like anything. I haven't heard people who are completely disappointed with this franchise say anything. I don't want Gaudreau. He stinks. This is awful. This team's terrible. What do they think they are? What do you want to do if that's the case? And don't tell me blow it up because you would complain 3 years in that they still suck. So there's no way in hell anybody can keep you satisfied. So you're basically irrelevant if you're just going to scream nonstop and lose your cool no matter what. He would help this team, even with the AAV involved in the big-time contract. I value what he brings to the table, and I feel the ones who don't think it's that much of a big jump for what he does, you're just lying to yourself because anything this franchise would do would not be good enough in your eyes. There's so much he does more than just, well, he had a 100-plus point season last year. He won't duplicate that. The dude's vision is unbelievable. You want to talk about... See, this is what I think is so funny. When watching him play, there are some out there that say he succeeded the way he did because of the talent in Calgary. I look at it as, and while there were great players to help him out for sure, it is a team game, and you look at line mates, and there is a correlation. There's also something to be said about other players having phenomenal seasons because of his vision, his ability to get guys open with time and space. Number one defensemen are out there while he's ditzy doodling. He's doing all sorts of toe drags, and he's putting it in between his skates, in between their skates, in between their sticks. He's driving wide. Guys are getting fooled, and they have to pay so much damn attention to him cherry picking, to him getting a breakaway, to him utilizing his speed, him coming down the sidewall, the half wall there, and creating space by driving wide and going past him on the side there. Like, all of that matters so much, which then opens up ice for a ton of others. I don't devalue that within his game. And, I'm not feeling good right now, unfortunately, just based off of what I'm hearing with the inability to create that cap space. But it comes down to, what is Chuck Fletcher willing to do? I think what's happening here, and this is just reading in between the lines here of what I am being told, I don't know if Chuck Fletcher's doing everything he possibly can to move on from JVR and then get the big ticket here. That's what I think is happening. It's all speculation. It's just when I'm putting the puzzle pieces together, what I'm getting from one source, what I'm getting from another source, what I'm getting from a third source. It's like, okay, hold on a second. Let me see if this is all working. Let me see if I could put the lanes in the same direction and what's lining up and what's not lining up. That's what I'm getting there. But there's more than I want with that Charlie O'Connor piece that I want to get to. Because he's like, okay, one thing that John Tortorella kept bringing up was the lack of togetherness in that locker room, basically talking about how it is fractured. And then goes on to say, well, then why buy out Oskar Lindblom, who is a loved one within that culture, and bring in Tony DeAngelo? And if this is our segue to Tony DeAngelo, then let's get to it. There is a background online on Tony DeAngelo. I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel about Tony DeAngelo, the person. I mentioned this actually yesterday, ironically enough, in the Phillies conversation about JT Realmuto. I don't care about politics. I got a bunch of friends that are Republican. I got a bunch of friends that are Democrat. Me personally, I'm not telling how you should feel or telling anybody how to feel. Me personally, I won't allow that to dictate if I am your friend or not, because within my friend group, we talk about other things more than politics. And if you feel a certain way, okay. If you feel another way, okay. He has clearly been open about how he feels with Donald Trump and things of that nature in the past. And I do believe that that has hurt him in this internet world where, yes, there were some things that happened, and you can look it up online in the OHL back when he was younger, before he made it to the NHL and all that. There's a background. I don't believe the internet tells the full story on the person that I know way more than the internet world does, and Twitter and everybody else talking about him in a very negative way. He's nowhere close to the person that is being discussed from people who have no idea who he is. That's my opinion, but I don't care how you feel. You can treat him the way you want to treat him when speaking about the Flyers. You can have your own opinion, and you feel how you feel. I'm not changing your opinion, and that's not my job to change your opinion on a specific person. I talk sports. I'm just telling you, I don't believe the internet tells the full story on the person. Now, Kevin Hayes has supported him. A lot of people have supported him. Hold on, I'm getting a text message right now, and I'm getting a little nervous in regards to what's going on here. So I have to pause where I'm at. And let's see. It doesn't look like... No. Now I'm getting nervous. Oh, here we go. Okay, Evgeny Malkin signed for $6.1 million, 4 years, according to Frank Saravalli. That's what's going on. Okay. Well, Chris Letang got the 6 years, and we saw how it was all broken down. So we'll wait to get more details on how everything is broken down with Evgeny Malkin. But that is something that just occurred just about 10 minutes ago or so. Anyway, getting back to what was going down with Kevin Hayes. 98% of the NHL locker rooms, 99% of the NHL locker rooms have had zero issues with Tony DeAngelo. I was speaking to someone who said they spoke to somebody in the league who works with the Carolina Hurricanes and said that they had zero problems with him. He was liked by all coaches, all teammates, and that was before they even signed him. They made sure they talked to a dozen of former teammates, and not one bad word was stated about him. And Rob Brindamore, he is a hard-nosed guy. John Tortorella, also a hard-nosed guy. That's the outside of the ice topics of Tony DeAngelo. The on the ice, okay. Basically, the reason why, to go back to, I know I keep kind of getting away from it, but this all really does stem from the article that I saw on The Athletic. So Charlie O'Connor wants to know why. What is the plan? Why would you get rid of Lindblom? Well, I'm telling you why you're getting rid of Oskar Lindblom. His pay is not worth the production. And I give him more credit than any human being could ever get credit for everything that he went through. But from a business standpoint, I don't really believe we need to go through the conversation on why Oskar Lindblom was bought out. It's just not worth that cap space to keep him here. Why Tony DeAngelo? Because Ryan Ellis can't play. That's why. I mean, it really isn't that hard to figure this puppy out. So I'm not telling you that you need to feel great about the direction of the Flyers. I'm not telling you that you should be praising them and claiming that they're Stanley Cup winners. But when you ask the question, why bring in DeAngelo? Why do this? Because Ryan Ellis can't play. He will not be available. They're going to have to LTIR him. So then you have to go look in the market and try and fix this puppy. So you go after a Tony DeAngelo. So maybe you can help out on this power play unit because the special teams were a disaster and absolutely sucked. Do I love him playing number one D-man minutes? No, I like him as a second pairing guy, in my personal opinion. I think he's better as a second pairing guy than a guy logging up all the minutes in the world as a number one pairing guy. We'll see how it all ends up shaping. I have no idea what Provorov is. Provorov sucking can end up hurting Tony DeAngelo more than I'm sure just naturally everybody will hate on Tony more than it is Ivan Provorov, if that is the case, because that's how it's going to go because of his background, even though we got to use all the context involved. That's where you got to pray that John Tortorella helps out with this defensive zone structure to get this puppy moving in the right way so they can start within the house in the D zone and then move forward from there in transition. I think he's better than people give him credit for. I saw all sorts of, you gave up Shane Gostisbehere. Tony DeAngelo shits on Shane Gostisbehere, okay? Now, in regards to compensation, 2024 second, 2023 third, 2022 fourth. You have so many picks within this draft, or within these three drafts, where you talk about multiple first rounders or, third round. It doesn't bother me at all on what they did spaced out over years to get him. Is $5 million AAV something that doesn't tickle your fancy? It's a 2-year deal. If it ends up not panning out, which I don't believe it's not going to pan out, but let's say hypothetically it doesn't, you're not set back with your franchise forever with this type of move. So from that aspect, I got no issues. Is he going to be plus 30 again? No, he's not going to be plus 30. There are some analytics. Not that I love hockey analytics, so every time I bash them hard. I'm not going to utilize them just to make my point proven. And I'm not telling you he's the greatest defenseman in the world. I have concerns if he's playing number one minutes next to Ivan Provorov, because I do look at him as more as a second pairing guy with the ability to really have fantastic numbers. I did that last time. There's a soundboard on my thing, and I hit it. But I do expect him to really shine on the power play and have the ability to help out on a team that had barely any success in that department as a whole. 51 points, 64 games. If he's giving you that type of offensive numbers, then it is what it is. Can you shake some things around a little bit where it's Ristolainen sliding up with Ivan Provorov? And I don't know if this is going to happen, and I don't necessarily love this option either. But if you have Ristolainen next to Provorov, Sanheim and Tony DeAngelo, don't really love it by any means, but I'm just saying, is there ways to get creative where in our minds we're automatically writing in Sanheim and Risto, and maybe that pairing is something that John Tortorella loves, but John Tortorella's all business, all right? He ain't going to put up with crap. He ain't going to put up with nonsense. So in regards to the way Tony DeAngelo, he had a lot of respect for Rob Brind'Amour, and everything worked out fine in Carolina, and he had a sensational year. Does he have some blow-ups on the ice? And yes. But without that fire, without that edge, which there is a line in everything, you don't have the player that you have in Tony DeAngelo who makes this squad better in my eyes. Tortorella will not give anything when it comes to the leash, making it longer for him. There's a certain leash, and from there, it is what it is. But I have faith in him. I have trust in him, and I don't believe in a lot of the way that certain reactions have been. It's my opinion on it. Let me tell you about Zach Green before we continue here. Look, injuries happen, and when they do, you need someone who is going to fight for the justice you deserve, and that's my friend Zach Green at the Javerbaum Law Firm. Zach Green is an experienced personal injury attorney who will personally handle your case if you or a loved one have been injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or if you have been the victim of medical malpractice. Consultations are always free, and he can be reached at 609-790-3895. Zach grew up in the Philadelphia area and has a deep understanding of the personality of its sports fans. He is a 4-for-4 guy who will stand up for your rights and fight for you. When you are hurt, you need a lawyer that is not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the insurance companies to get you the compensation you deserve. If you've been hurt, call Zach at 609-790-3895 or email him at zgreen@lawjw.com. You can visit his website. His link is down below in the description. Okay. We do have a... hold on. We got people discussing draft picks down the road, and that's why they have to stop giving away draft picks. They'll be fine. I got no problems with the draft picks that they gave up for a Tony DeAngelo. I got no issues. If you can draft Cam Yorks, if you could find, and I do believe that what they selected this year in the first round is going to blossom into a nice center who can help you out with that center depth. If they continue with that trend, and those are the type of players that they're acquiring in the first round, then it ain't gonna matter if you lose a second round, if you lose a third round, if you give up some of those pieces. If you hit on your number one dogs and you hit on your top guys, well, then I truly feel that you got something there and you'll be fine in that area. We are going to take a couple calls here. Give me one moment as we get to the Anytime Hotline and listen to Sean.
Good morning, Hunter. My thoughts on DeAngelo real quick are these. Look, I understand fully people not supporting this trade and having their opinions about the guy. As for myself, I only judge people by what I see on the ice. I don't put, or in any sport, I don't put any athlete on any pedestal. I don't know what they do behind the scenes. You know, if we were all judged by our misgivings of the past and our misdeeds, we'd all be in trouble. He's here. I'm willing to give him a chance. And the one thing that he has in his favor is he's got the perfect coach, in my opinion, as far as keeping him in line. So again, the trade's made. He's here. I'm willing to support him. Hopefully he keeps his nose clean and puts numbers up on the ice.
And I think he will. I think he has an opportunity to thrive as a very solid offensive defenseman in this system. It's going to be structured. It's going to be in a structured way. And there needs to be a perfect way to do this, right? Because with offensive creativity in this sport, the last thing you want to do is tell someone they can't be themselves. Giving him freedom is allowing him to operate and see the ice in a way that is very unique, that has helped him get to this point. At the same time, though, it can't be so loose where Carter Hart is getting crushed in between the net because there's too many deficiencies in that department. I keep going back to the Phillies. Well, just Joe Girardi won't change this if he's fired. Here comes Rob Thompson and things changed. I have to give John Tortorella that opportunity to prove that it is wrong. And I'm not telling you it's going to be right either, or it will happen automatically either. I'm not saying it will, but I'm not going to tell you it can at the same exact time because we just absolutely saw it in this city. So let's see. If there is a belief, a buy-in, so making sure that zone is completely different and the absolute opposite from what we saw under Alain Vigneault. And the power of a message in a new head coach in the first year goes a long way. Does it take time to have your system put in and then produced properly? Yes, but especially with a guy that has the background that John Tortorella does, and also working with the Cam Atkinson, who is very respected and has already been underneath of John Tortorella's system in the past. When it comes to just getting that worked in, it goes a long way to have that person to reflect back to and to have an understanding of, hey, look, I can talk to Cam about some things maybe, and not that you can't talk to the head coach. Of course you could talk to the head coach, but it helps out big time time when there is that relatability factor to one of your leaders in the locker room. I guess I say this all to also mention when it comes to this team, the way I talk about them, I'm not claiming that they're going to do something super special. I'm not claiming that they're amazing. I just don't think that they're as bad as what others are saying they are at the moment, even knowing that there is a ton of dysfunction happening within the front office and the marketing team and everybody else involved. I just look at the talent within the locker room, and they're not fourth worst in the NHL type of talent. The problem is how many of those young prospects were playing so much last year towards the end. Too many of them. And it stings that Joel Farabee's already hurt. And Sean Couturier was out last year. Those type of things cannot happen. Kevin Hayes' season was a very sad one, really, just from everything that happened with his family off the ice, and I can't even imagine going through something like that. Then he's also factoring in a physical injury with the game, too, where if you get a healthy Kevin Hayes, and, there's this debate on, is he really good? Is he not that good? I saw him healthy last year at the end of the year, and I went, oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's what a healthy Kevin Hayes looks like. If we get a healthy Kevin Hayes, I feel people forget how good he really is. Once again, when I say these things, I'm not telling you they're an unbelievable team. I'm not telling you they're an amazing team. But I think they can give us a respected season that no one's giving them credit for possibly being able to do. But right now, until this JVR contract gets moved, and if it doesn't, then yeah, I'm going to be disappointed. You got to get that off the books. I'm hearing it's possible they go after another forward. Let's say they don't land Johnny Gaudreau and spend all that money on him in free agency. Another forward, another defenseman that they need for that back-end pairing. And then what are they going to do in backup goalie? So if you look at that money on one player, if they don't do that, will they target those three positions to help out? But yeah, this JVR thing is brutal. Hayes was great in the first year, but his contract is haunting the Flyers. I don't know if it will or not. I don't think last year is a good representation of what he is. And that first year with the Flyers, and you talk about special teams and shorthanded, yeah, he definitely exceeded expectations. There's got to be a middle ground. At the end of the day, is there still an overpay involved? Yeah, when you go to the free agency market, most times there is, and I won't disagree with that. But once again, if he maximizes and plays somewhere in the middle and he's still giving you solid play, there's something to that is extremely valuable to this team. I feel very outcasted. I feel very, very out on an island when discussing this team. Cole wants to know, what am I giving up for JVR? What do you mean? I'm not giving up. If I'm another team, nothing. I'm taking his contract and I'm taking draft picks from the Flyers. That's what it's going to take. But if you look at what you do with that freedom when he's no longer on your roster, that's where the intrigue comes into play. We'll take another call here.
Yo, bros, it's Mike here. I just got a couple questions for you, man. How do you feel about this Philadelphia Flyers draft? These young kids, these young studs coming up. I feel positive about this Flyers team. We'll see where Torts does. Torts is our head coach. We'll see what he does. Second question, we need Bryce Harper, but man, this Phillies team, let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I mean, Phillies are what they are. I'll talk about them after the 2-game set in Toronto. For the draft and young kids, I mean, I want to see Bobby Brink. Bobby Brink ends up getting injured, which is another injury that stings. I don't know what we're going to get out of Owen Tippett. I was intrigued by a lot last year. I do feel he's got a rip. It just, will it actually find twine, or are we constantly going to be hitting those posts? Torts is possibly the difference maker here. How does the team react to John Tortorella? And I expect them to react strongly. Yeah, I'm excited about Cutter, though. The long-term game, he's still 3 years out. He's still years and years out. It ain't going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, to summarize a little bit as we wrap the show up, the Gaudreau thing, It all comes down to, is Chuck Fletcher willing? Because his interest is here. It's one of multiple teams out on the East Coast that he would want to come to. And, there is definitely more percentage here than in other cities if Chuck Fletcher can do it. Will Chuck Fletcher do it? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. Tony DeAngelo, he's a damn good player. He has lapses in the D zone, but he makes up for it way more than Shane Gostisbehere, which I believe is an embarrassment of a correlation to some. What he did in Arizona, where you're allowed to lose nonstop, it's irrelevant to an actual franchise that doesn't have those type of standards. You could do whatever the hell you want out in Arizona, and it doesn't mean a damn thing. What you get here is an obnoxious amount of reaction to a wild level that, at some points I just can't even register, but that's the difference. No one's having that. What I started the show off with saying I can't stand, you don't have that in Arizona. Nobody gives a damn. They don't care one lick about you. They don't even know who Shane Gostisbehere is because they don't even have an arena to play in. So don't tell me that he had a nice year and some nice stats. Doesn't mean squat because there's no correlation to what would be done here in this city at all. With Tony D, you can feel how you want to feel. I'm not going to be morale police. I know him personally. I don't think the internet tells a full story of him. He's a damn good hockey player. He's going to help out this hockey team. I'm very excited about what he can do for a power play unit. Keith Yandel was supposed to be the one to play that role. Remember how Keith Yandel went? All right, I'll let you know for free. This is going to be 75 times better than the Keith Yandel experience. And Oskar Lindblom was bought out. It was the right move for the franchise. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. And I will catch you guys on